So it's gonna be a warrior versus warrior matchup. Okay, so it's Cthulhu warrior versus a control warrior. So that's also interesting as well, since the deck is so popular. But I guess this is also a meta call as well. Okay, so both playing very, very slow decks today. So that's actually quite interesting to see, because other tournaments I kind of casted never really have, like, in open tournaments you sort of want to grind really, really fast, like, just so you can actually like grind all those open tournaments. But this is actually the first time I can see like a control warrior versus kind of matchup. So in order to kind of win kind of these kind of matchups, you sort of want to hero power each and every kind of turn, is because you want to value out your opponent, and then later on you want to pressure your opponent to use certain kind of removals like execute or even brawl, and so that you can win with your kind of win condition in the late game. And I think Nuba is a little bit of, well, not I can't really say he's ahead, but playing the lead Starseeker early is pretty good. Is because if Nuba is able to waste like a lot of sources that Perna kind of has, like execute and brawl, the Elise Starseeker, like gaining the golden monkey and stuff like that, would be very, very strong, because with the constant legendaries, Perna is probably going to have a problem sort of dealing them if you consistently spam like really like a lot of the value legendaries. So playing the Fiery War, actually removing the Elite Starseeker with the slam. And it's kind of like the control kind of matchup. Perna cannot win later on in the game. Later on, like early on in the game, before he goes into fatigue. Nuba is definitely ahead. And Nuba can actually draw, is because Perna already drew quite a bit, because he drew like about like 2 cards over Nuba at the moment. So in like a control kind of versus, he can draw again, but I'm not sure if he necessarily needs to. If he is playing something like Elise, he might save the shield block for the golden monkey. But we will be seeing the Disciple Cthulhu playing it out, just so that Nuba can manipulate the Acolyte Pain to get a total of 3 draws. Nuba is probably not going to use the shield block, because he knows his opponent is going to play fairly slowly. So he's probably going to use the shield block for the golden monkey. So map of the golden monkey is being played. So he might even get, Nuba might even get a very early golden monkey, and can potentially actually beat down Perna with just the golden monkey kind of, because you can, well, he doesn't really have Brand right now, but well, if he has Brand in his hand and he Emperors that, he can actually play Brand and Cthulhu all in one turn with the coin, so he can actually prep for that. But definitely playing the Gorehound just to play the board control kind of game. Oh, pick up the Harrison, that's a really good pickup. Oh man. That is so strong. This is so much value, and picking up the golden monkey as well, that is insane. And Nuba is going to clear the board with Bash. This is also quite good too, because you're going to play the golden monkey, and possibly another legendary. It's going to have, Perna's going to probably have a little problems actually dealing with it. But it really depends if Nuba would play this golden monkey before the brawl. You're seeing the coin actually being played here. So the immediate Justicar. This is kind of good too, because it does contest with the Harrison on board, and you are getting your here. I personally like playing the golden monkey after I play Justicar, because I do get that huge kind of value, and especially now he can use the shield slam to remove the Justicar. This is a pretty big board, and it forces Perna sort of to use his removals that he has in his hand, and after he uses his removals, he can completely clear. Although he's not really developing any kind of minions, he may just want to save the Emperor for like Brand in his hand, or even a Doom Caller, just because you can combo the Doom Caller and Brand together to get a second Cthulhu. So there's that kind of possibility too. So he definitely has, Perna definitely. And thinking of if he should Shield Slam or not, but he didn't think it's too much a threat, so Shield Slam was actually not played. So the golden monkey is being played right now. I'm excited to see what kind of legendary he's getting. Double Onyxius, that's really strong. Karn is also really strong too. It plays around certain cards' value. If he's playing the Ravaging Ghoul now, he's planning to execute the biggest creature on board. Oh, actually not the biggest creature, probably the Karn, just because he doesn't want. Okay, so he actually decides the golden monkey instead, so he values his life total a little bit higher. So right now Perna doesn't have a choice to actually wait to use his Emperor on another turn, so he has to use it right now to actually use it to contest the board, like the Karn at the moment. He does have the Brawl, so which is not bad. Ice Howl being picked up, so that's really, really good for Nuba. Oh man, being able to get that Emperor out of there right away, just so he doesn't get too much value out of it. Oh man, it's about 10 attack, I believe, at the moment. So 10 attack is definitely not bad at the moment. It does remove, it can possibly move the currents blow to his first stage. But so okay, so we're gonna see Disciple being played right here. I definitely like the Disciple. It allows me to, like, it allows me personally to remove the first stage of Karn, and then you're gonna brawl later on in the game when Nuba probably plays more kind of creatures right on the board, so you can have like a very, very clean type of brawl. You can possibly use like Ancient Shield Barrier with the Shield Slam right here to remove the Ice House, since a 10 attack kind of creature does contest almost each and everything that you play out, especially the Cthulhu as well. So you definitely don't want that on the board either. So yeah, he is personally doing that kind of play. So using Disciple to move the first stage of Karn, possibly if Nuba plays something very, very big, like consistently playing very big, build up his board, you can easily just brawl it out. So Nuba is probably, if he's gonna play the Nixie, he's probably gonna bait up a brawl. And unfortunately enough, if Perna does brawl right here, another Nixie is probably gonna be played. That's actually pretty disgusting too. Oh man. And even if there's another brawl to handle the second Nixie, alright, so we do see the Cthulhu being played at the moment. Pretty sick, not bad. Okay, so we're gonna see a second Nixia being played. Oh man, this is gonna be something else. This is gonna be so hard to remove, I swear. So another Ancient Shield Barrier is probably gonna be played. Shield Slam that. Saving his Brawl, because to be honest, like 1/1s aren't actually that hard to actually, like they're not really a big threat, because Perna is just at such a high health right now. You can possibly just let the 1/1s live, like it doesn't really matter. Like the more healthy you move most of the board. So yeah, so Cthulhu is definitely not bad. If Cthulhu is played at the moment, ooh, if it deals one more damage to the Ancient Shield Barrier, Nuba would have won that, or like he would have lived. So that's really let's get started. Warlock versus the Druid. Okay, so looking at that hand is probably going to be like something like a Yogg Druid or a Token Druid. Maybe Token Druid without Yogg, like we never know, because of the Ancient of War, but I possibly think it's a Yogg Druid just because of the Violet Teacher. And then we see the standard Zoop playing by Nuba as well. If you pick up something like Innervate, I definitely don't want the Ancient of War. I want something like a hand that's a little bit more reactive. I may want like something like a Wrath, yeah, or even a Swipe too, just bring back the board a little bit if I'm behind, especially when we know that Zoo actually has a very good time in terms of developing the board, because they just can develop it so easily. So 2 1/1s are being played with the Living Root, so pretty good opening, not bad. And Nuba answers that with the double 1-drops that he just picked up, the Flame Imp with the Argent Squire. The only way you're gonna lose to a Druid with the Zoo is possibly just being really behind on board, like a turn 3 kind of play. So unfortunately, so he doesn't have that. Alright, so yeah, I feel like hero powering the Divine Shield and using the 2 1/1s to trade into Flame Imp is definitely not bad. I feel like that's the more efficient kind of play. So that's exactly what he is going to do. So 2 of the 1/1s going into the Flame Imp, and just leaving the 1/1 kind of alive. Ooh, pick up the Possessed Villager, that's definitely not bad. Target Propellers obviously is going to come down. Oh, picking up the Shield Barrier is not bad as well. It just protected like your smaller kind of creatures. And then you can possibly combo that with the Defender of Argus. Especially on turn 3, he doesn't really have a turn 3 kind of play, so you possibly can play the Shield Barrier on turn 3 and possibly tap or develop the 2 1/1s in his hand, and possibly another 1/1, possibly another 1-drop if he picks it or he draws it like the next turn. So using the Living Roots to remove on the creatures on board and also getting a hero power down. Ooh, Knife Juggler. This is good with the Shield Barrier being very heavily protected. But we're gonna see if Perna actually decides to actually swipe off the Knife Juggler, just because depending how threatening it actually is. I personally don't feel like it is. Just playing the Violet Teacher is probably enough in my kind of opinion, and you can actually afford to actually be greedy, just because Perna's at a very, very kind of high health right now. Okay, so we're gonna see the Possessed Villager and the Abusive Sergeant coming down. If it juggle hits, I would possibly trade it with the Violet Teacher, but unfortunately he did not. Alright. So we're gonna see the swipe coming down right here. Yeah, possibly removing Knife Juggler, because that's probably like the most threatening part, that card on board, and I feel like removing the Possessed Villager kind of Death Rattle is good as well. You're able to remove the shield barrier. The reason why removing the Possessed Villager kind of the Death Rattle is good is because you don't really want it to combo with like something like Abusive Sergeant or Possessed Villager. Look really good. Pick him a Claw. Claw is also very good as well. It is able to keep the board in control. So definitely really, really good. Okay, picking up another Possessed Villager, that's definitely not bad, but Nuba is staring down the Violet Teacher that's really uncontested at the moment. I actually feel like if the Violet Teacher... Okay, so playing the Raven Idol first. Okay, so playing let's see what he gets. Ooh, Soul of the Forest. I like Soul of the Forest. You're playing like something like a token kind of deck, using the Claw, keep everything in kind of control first, and then using Soul of Forest to make them all have Death Rattles, making it hard for Nuba to even gain back the board. That is very, very disgusting. Picking up Soul of the Forest right away. 2-0 for Perna right now. So yeah, Nuba knows that the Zoo deck, and Perna playing his last deck, which would be the Shaman deck. I'm unsure if this is actually the aggro Shaman, but it can actually possibly be, or it can actually be mid-range kind of Shaman deck. But Nuba I feel Nuba has the upper hand in here, because we know that Warlock is pretty good against these Shaman decks to counter to like certain 4 health kind of creatures. Like we see a lot of Azurdrakes, Imp Boss, Totem Golem, and I believe there's even Frothing Berserk. Not bad, but he doesn't have a turn 2 play to follow up, nor a turn 3 kind of play. He will have another additional draw to go into turn 2 play for like a 2-drop, but if he Hero Powers on turn 2, it's definitely not going to be looking too good for him, just because he has nothing to play on turn 2. And able to develop the board early to beat down the Shaman deck. So the Rock Biter is going to be played, just because in order for the Shaman to beat this kind of matchup, you want to have the board as cleared, as controlled as possible. But we will be seeing the Tuskar Totemic being played as well. Did you bring some fish? Alright, so we're gonna see the Manatite Totem being played out. Really, really good from the Tuskar Totemic. Able to give him that card advantage to actually board clear most of the time. Okay, so we're gonna see the Abusive Sergeant coming out. And a Soulfire too. This is really good for Nuba, because, well, like playing the Soulfire is really good just because he is behind on board and he doesn't really want to be as well. But dropping that 2-drop, it definitely does not feel good. It's because, in my opinion, to drop the Gormok. So, Potential Stormcrack coming down. Alright, that's actually quite okay, I believe. It's actually quite okay. It's not bad. I believe it overloads by 1. If it does overload by 1, then he is able to play the Pharaoh Spirit. So playing the Gormok as a tempo is definitely not bad. He definitely needs it to game the board a little back. Yeah, it does overload by 1, so he will be able to play the Pharaoh or the thing for below as well. Alright. So life tap into... we will possibly see Power Overwhelming here. Yeah, using on the thing from below. Nuba doesn't want to use too much, don't want to commit too much resources on the board to actually trade into the thing from below, because these are probably the minions that he really needs to rely on to actually beat this kind of matchup. So Fire Elemental being played. This is actually a very good tempo card from Perna's side. Unfortunately enough, the Gormok doesn't trade into the Fire Elemental that well, so Defender of Argus Oh, actually picking up the Voidwalker, that's a different story. If the Fire Elemental trades into the Voidwalker, he can possibly use the 4/4 to trade into the Fire Elemental if he wants to, but he'll have Overload. I'm not sure if he can actually play his Lightning Storm the next turn. Yeah, he can play his Lightning Storm next turn. He does plan to develop the board right here. He possibly just play Pharaoh Spirits into the Mana Title and just gain a little bit more card draw and more answers for your opponent. So Pharaoh Spirit and Totem Golem is the two cards that he's going to play. Taunts are really hard to move. Like, you're trying to force Nuba to use certain resources to remove these kind of taunts, and the Totem Golem itself is a very strong body in general to trade up a lot of things. So picking up a few more cards with the life tap. So the Argent's definitely going to come down. Gonna remove these taunts with the Imp Gank Boss and the Gormok. Oh man. Looking pretty good, but looking pretty. The Nuba's board looking pretty good, but we know that a Lightning Storm is in hand, so most of this board is probably gonna be removed. Yeah. Oh man, that RNG removed everything on board. Oh man, I thought the Voidwalker would have lived. It would have been good if it lived, but unfortunately, it didn't. Okay, so we're gonna see the Knife Juggler being played here. Okay, a Dark Peddler as well. Defender of Argent is probably the follow-up as well, just so he can stay alive just a little bit longer. Because there is a lot of damage coming down from Perna's side of the board, so you definitely need it. Playing the Tuskar Totemic first, see if you get the Flame Tongue Totem to actually have lethal, but unfortunately he is actually one off, so that's unfortunate. And Perna winning 3-0 against Nuba. Damn.